Today we are back in our kitchen and we are finally processing our tomatoes and our tomatillos.
Ariel's going to be making our pasta sauce and our tomato sauce for us, and I'm going to be making our green salsa.
First off, we're going to be starting with making pasta sauce out of our tomatoes, and then we're going to use the skins to make tomato sauce. It's an awesome way to get a second use out of those skins rather than just composting them. If you're looking closely, you may have noticed that our tomatoes are a little bit funny looking, and that is because they have been frozen. So this year, a lot of our tomatoes, probably about 2/3 of them, did not ripen on the vine. We actually had to pull them off and bring them inside to let them ripen. So this all happened over the period of about 2 months, and we needed a place to store them in the meantime. Because we were processing them, we went ahead and froze them. Now, you normally wouldn't want to freeze a tomato if you plan on using it fresh again because it's just going to ruin the consistency, but for sauces and salsa, it doesn't matter.
We're going to start off by processing these tomatoes through our strainer, which is hooked onto our meat grinder, and then what we're going to do is we're going to use the skins left over to cook down and make our tomato sauce.
We're using 4 different varieties today. I primarily wanted to use Roma tomatoes, but we actually did not have those grow as much, and I planted a lot of the heirloom type. We have Hillbilly and we have Kellogg's, and Kellogg's is always a great performer. It gives you these really big orange tomatoes, and then there are a yellower orange variety, which is Hillbilly, that looks like this. Ideally, those are tomatoes that are going to have a lot of water content, so they're not great for actually making pasta sauce. We just need to let the sauce simmer down a little longer to get rid of some of the water, so we end up with a thicker sauce. So we are going to get started by putting these tomatoes through the strainer. I also forgot to mention that we have some tomatoes put aside over here. These are more of the unattractive ones. And in this area of our kitchen, we have our tomatillos and our jalapenos, which have also been frozen. This year, we had a really good yield of these tomatillos. Some of them got just massive, which is awesome. We're really looking forward to having a really spicy green salsa. Before we get started on our tomatoes, this strainer does draw quite a bit of energy, so we like to have our generator running, and you are going to probably hear our inverter fan running in the background. So what I'm first going to do is cut some of these larger tomatoes into quarters or more appropriate sizes for our strainer, and I did remove tops if there was any that had those on, and these are slightly frozen, which is okay. About 2 minutes in, we did break this strainer, and it was probably because it was too cold from the partially frozen tomatoes, or because they were partially frozen and they were having a hard time pushing through here. So we went ahead and switched our strainer out to our pumpkin attachment, and it's now allowing some seeds through. I just wanted to point that out to you guys, so you'll start to see some seeds in the tomato sauce, and I'm just going to be keeping a closer eye on it and putting through smaller chunks. We just finished straining all of our tomatoes. I'm going to put this last bit of juice in our pot. And we've got another pot here with the skins and some of those seeds. I'm going to add water to these, and this is going to be our tomato sauce. And you want just enough water to cover the tomatoes themselves. Now that both our tomato sauce and our pasta sauce are simmering, I'm going to add some of these ingredients behind me to our pasta sauce. First, I'm going to start with some herbs that we have. This is thyme, and I'll be putting it in just straight, and we're going to go ahead and fish out the little stems later. Next, we have some dried parsley. Now I'm going to put some sage in. I'm not going to put too much of that since that's pretty strong. And we are adding oregano. I put quite a bit of herbs in since we don't have garlic to add today. We could have bought some, but we didn't grow it this year, so I just went ahead and added a little extra herbs. We're also going to be adding in salt. This is kosher salt, and pepper, and 1 cup of sugar. I'm going to go ahead and get that stirred up. Lastly, I forgot about basil, and it's not very pretty looking. I had to pick this over a month ago and freeze it, but I'm going to be adding that in now. I'm going to go ahead and get the onions chopped up. I'm going to chop up 4 onions. We are using Walla Walla, which is a sweet onion. I have Patterson that we grew as well, and red onions and shallots, but these Walla Wallas won't store for very long, so I'm going to try and make use of them here. We went ahead and tried some of this onion, and it is delicious, and it's Walla Walla, and it's a sweet onion, so it's not like a yellow onion. You can chop it up raw, kind of like a red onion too. The pasta sauce has all of the ingredients in it, so we are going to let it reduce down into a consistency that we like. This tomato sauce in the back just needs salt, and we also have to let it reduce down, and then we will be straining it again for the final product. And when you add water to those peels, you're going to get a great flavor from the peels themselves. You don't have to compost them or toss them out. They make another really wonderful sauce to have put up for the winter. Both these pots will take a little while to simmer down, so Eric is going to get started on our salsa.
All right, we're gonna get started on our green salsa or salsa verde. This is something we usually always make and we go through it really fast. It kind of replaces hot sauce for us. So it's more of like a liquid salsa as compared to more of a chunky salsa. Some of the ingredients we are gonna use is our tomatillos. We have a bunch of peppers. They're jalapenos and serranos. We're gonna use a little bit of vinegar. We're gonna use some red onions and a shallot. And then we have some cilantro that Ariel dried, along with some parsley and some salt and pepper. First thing we're going to do is we're going to get all of our tomatillos and our peppers blended up and added to our pot. All right, the tomatillos are all blended up. Next thing we have to do is we are going to treat the peppers the same way. We're going to cut the tops off and we're going to get those all blended up and added to the pot. All right, next we're moving on to the onions. We're using 4 of these red onions and we're going to use 1 shallot. All right, and then to the blender with our onions in it, we're going to add our dried cilantro and we're going to add some parsley as well. And to get this to blend, we're going to add our vinegar now. Okay, so a few last things we're going to add to the salsa before we get it all mixed up and on the heat is salt. We have black pepper. And then I'm going to add about a half a cup of apple cider vinegar. Okay, we did a taste test and it's tasting pretty good. So what we're going to do is our stove is kind of full with those 2 pots we have on there. So this is going to go outside on the deck on the burner stove, and we're going to get this heated up and kind of bring it to a simmer before we put it in jars and water bath it. Alright, our salsa was outside simmering. We let it simmer for probably about 15 minutes and it's nice and hot. We got our jars all cleaned and ready to go here. We're going to be using half pints this time around. We're going to get these all filled up, get some lids on them, and then they're going to go out in the water bath for 15 minutes. Alright, so this is turning out a lot better than we thought. We're actually getting a lot more salsa cans than we thought we were going to get. We have 32 half pints already full here. We ran out of half pints, so we are switching to pints. We're going to start with 12 and see how many we get. Alright, we've got the rims of the jars wiped off with a clean rag and a little bit of vinegar. And we're taking our hot lids. We're going to get them placed on these things with the rings. We ended up with 32 of the half pints, and then we filled up all 12 of the pints. And all of these are just going to water bath for 15 minutes each. Our salsa has been going for 15 minutes. And that's going to be our finished product right there. All right, this batch of salsa is done. We probably have about 2 more batches to do. Let's head inside and see how Ariel's doing with our pasta sauce.
Our pasta sauce is finally finished reducing, and it's at a consistency that we're happy with. It's not extremely thick, but that's because of the tomatoes we used. So we are going to be putting this in quarts and then pressure canning these for 25 minutes. I'm just gonna wipe the rims off with vinegar and then get the lids on. We got 13 quarts, so pretty happy with that. It'd be nice to have some more, but at least we have something. Now that our pasta sauce is in the pressure cooker, we are going to get started on this tomato sauce. We have already let it cool just a little bit before we run it through the strainer, and I'm gonna get this turned on and we're gonna strain it through. We're all finished up and we are very happy with the final product. This is what it looks like. It's actually pretty chunky because we were using the pumpkin strainer, and this is the leftover that will be going to the chickens in the morning. We're gonna get this put into pints and leave 1/2 inch headspace. We'll be processing them by water bath for 35 minutes. The other option is in a pressure canner for 15 minutes. We ended up with 14 of these pints. We're gonna get the rest of our cans processed, and then we will show you guys tomorrow what they look like when they're all done. It's the next day and we have 71 cans that we finished yesterday. Pretty happy with that. We do plan to grow more tomatoes next year. We want to do diced tomatoes, more tomato sauce and pasta sauce, as well as even sun-dried or dehydrated tomatoes. That is wonderful. This will be a good start for us this winter, and I think we are pretty much done with canning. We may have a few things here and there to do, but this was our last big run.
Yeah, and it's been a really long, hard canning season for us. We're used to gardening in a different climate where we kind of garden year round. Here, our gardening season hit really fast. We were really busy. We put it all away. We've been getting a lot of requests to do a root cellar tour video, so you guys are gonna get it. We're gonna get these down the root cellar, and our next video will be our root cellar tour.
We will catch you guys down there next time.